Before we get to your scheduled video, please remember that likes and comments tell YouTube to promote our work to other people, and subscribing to the channel tells you when something new drops. You can also head to the link tree in the description to peruse my books, join us on Discord, or support us on Patreon. You can get episodes of Journey of Wrestling and Violent Profiles early, as well as a load of other treats. Even just $1 a month earns you a name drop for being cool. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show. Greetings and salutations, fellow surprisingly cheap bottles of saffron. It is I, Eric J. Chucky, joined as always by the boy.
Hey!
This is the Two Nerds Podcast, and this is one of those catching up podcasts, which is actually the original concept you had for us sitting down and talking.
Yeah, because we've known each other for a long-ass time, but there was a period there where we weren't really talking so much about 10 years ago. We lived, we were roommates and we hung out, but we didn't talk about our lives, really. It was just, hey, I gotta go to the store. Okay. And I wanted to get back to the portion of our friendship where we talked all the time about all the stuff we'd seen and done. Through this podcast, we've learned that happened because we see and do all the same things. So there's nothing to talk about. So we talk to you.
We do talk plenty privately as well, but it's like about deep philosophical personal concepts that are not airing on the internet.
Hell no.
And also sometimes we just dunk on people we think are dumb.
Yeah, the podcast is a space for generally positive interactions, and I try and keep it that way, and so does he. I'm not an entirely positive person. You just don't get to see that part of me all the time.
Yeah, it's been a while since a Batman and the Infinite Sadness. But before we get into mostly what we have to talk about is Furiosa. I say mostly, I don't know that we're going to spend that much time on it, but it has a nice giant logo. I do want to talk about who's cool.
Ooh, that's important.
Yes, that's going to be on the tip of your tongue. A guy from Ohio, Passion Killer, 7-Eleven, Rob, Harmony, and is that everyone?
No, sir.
Screw City, KTL.
That's right.
How could I forget?
You're missing the mighty, the true KTL. So
it's a pretty sick trio of letters, KTL. It's got
SEO.
Yeah.
It's got, at least for my internal Rolodex, I remember it. It's got me SEO.
Your SEO? Auditore?
Differenze.
Speaking of video games, that's also something we're going to talk about today, and just a general catch-up on what we've been doing. You're going to sit with us for half an hour. It's going to be fun.
Hopefully.
It will be fun.
Mandatorily.
You're going to need to comment. I am going to need you to comment. I know this works for, hot muscular girls. I'm not any of that, but we're going to try. I'm going to need you to comment, and you're going to write about how great you think this podcast is. You're going to like, you're going to subscribe, and you're going to share it with your friends.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know. We'll find out. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Basically what happened here is we went to go see Furiosa, a Mad Max saga in theaters, because I really wanted to see this in theaters, because I saw Fury Road in theaters, and it was an amazing experience. We may have done a podcast on it.
It was fairly transformative. I remember spraying cake spray into my face. In fact, it was 9 years ago today.
Yeah. So it was one of the early podcasts, which, to be clear, you should not watch. They're bad. But
many of them have been deleted.
Good. So here's the thing. I knew it wasn't going to be as good on a small screen, and I watched Fury Road again on the small screen recently, and I was confirmed, oh yes, I should see Furiosa in theaters. And then Furiosa did bad. Not because it was bad, but because everything did bad, because the movies are bad.
This is the worst Memorial Day opening weekend in 20 years, maybe longer, 30. And it led the box office just above Garfield.
But that didn't mean much.
No.
Ain't nobody making money this last couple weeks. So we wanted to catch it before it trounced out of theaters and its head hung in shame.
And there's a lot of really hype stuff coming out in the next couple weeks. Not for us necessarily, but for people in general.
Stuff that's going to shove Furiosa right out of the theaters.
So we wanted to make some time for it.
But then, the movie didn't have 30 minutes of material for our podcast in it. So we're talking about some other stuff too.
Spoiler-free review, which not that you...
It's a prequel. Spoilers. It leads into Mad Max Fury Road.
Literally, they show, 10 minutes of Fury Road at the end of the movie.
It's 40 seconds.
40 minutes? Yeah, it's 3 hours.
You can tell his chief complaint was that the movie was maybe a little too long.
I used to love long movies. My ADHD used to be not as bad, is the short version there. But another thing I've analyzed, and I won't get too deep into this because I could talk about my own dumb problems forever, ask him. I haven't watched a lot of non-MCU films that weren't, like, personally recommended to me from someone I trust, or a sure bet like the Mario movie or Ninja Turtles, that weren't catastrophically bad.
In the last couple years,
In the last couple years, yeah. In that sense, I haven't watched a lot of movies that didn't fit those qualifiers. And it just feels like such a risk to look at the runtime of a film that didn't do well and go, oh no, if it's bad, I'm stuck there for 2.5 hours.
And
90 minutes. Bad. Hey, I sat through that Russell Crowe flick.
And to be clear, Furiosa's pretty good.
It was okay. It was, the summary I came to after we left the theater was slightly better than mid.
And I think that's fair and accurate. It was pretty good. It was pretty fun. It had some cool characters in it. The best part of the movie is Chris Hemsworth, and it's a big gap between him and the next best thing in the movie. Hemsworth diff. High diff.
I don't speak his young people terminology. For those oldsters like me, it was like if Captain Jack Sparrow was the villain. And that was pretty cool.
He was having a great time, and I had a great time with his character. Everyone else did a fine job. Nobody really turned in any stinker performances. The story was only a little more complex than Fury Road, but in that it had a story. Fury Road doesn't have much of one, if we're being real with each other.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is that Fury Road was as good as it was on really awesome action scenes and
cinematography and tone and color.
I didn't like a lot of the hyper frenetic stuff at the very beginning of the movie, but otherwise they did such an amazing job conveying these high action events, these car chase fights, and that's what I wanted more of in Furiosa. And there were a lot of those,
but they weren't as good.
They weren't as good.
So the movie wasn't as good. I would still say see it. It's still pretty good. It's still a fun time, especially if you like Fury Road, or especially if you think Chris Hemsworth having fun being a evil dick face sounds fun. Watch the movie. You'll have a great time.
Yeah. I do want to say my major complaint, even after seeing the film, is that it is too long. There's a lot of scenes in there that could have been cut, a lot that were super not necessary to convey the message, characterization, or plot of the film. They added a whole subplot about Rictus being a diddler. I didn't care for that.
Fully do not like that.
Yeah.
Rictus Erectus was a wonderful, lovable idiot. Why did you have to make him a diddler, George? That's not fucking cool.
I mean, I guess it's like the shitty hyper future, so everyone is a little bit of a diddler.
I don't like being reminded of that.
Yeah. But it was just really long. Man, there's another movie we saw recently, and I don't remember it. My brain is mush. That I kind of grimaced at the runtime, but it was good. We watched it, and it was good, and I was wrong. Maybe I could have cut 10 minutes off of it.
You're thinking of Ocean's 11, probably.
Maybe. Yeah, I remember saying that was a pretty tight film. There was maybe only 1 or 2 scenes that could have gotten trimmed. But
your outlook, you would say, is notably, self-admittedly a little biased in terms of this.
Yeah, well, and it's baked into how I do everything. Because what have we been doing lately? Well, I just finished a book. And I've always been more inspired by cinema than I have by other writers. And for that reason, I don't belabor the point much.
No, his books are pretty tight. I would say, from my perspective, the movie was a little long. I think all of the scenes that were there were important and plot relevant. But I think you could restructure the plot to make that not the case very easily.
That's a more accurate version of what I meant to say. And, they're cool. They'd be great on DVD bonus features if that was a thing we did anymore. But it was so... Where Fury Road was selling you on a concept, really punchy, really fast, got into the action and stayed there for as long as it needed to, with occasional breaths. This was selling you on the world. We had a lot of really slow
which I
ambient
did like.
building. it was cool.
It's my jam, though. I am biased here. Yeah. I'm world building's George.
But like, at the end of the day, I really don't have much to say about it. Yeah, I would say maybe watch it if you liked Fury Road. Don't expect a masterpiece.
There's a recent video from a much more popular YouTuber about in praise of the 7 out of 10 game. I don't know if this is a 7 out of 10 movie, but that's the vibe.
I'd give it, if we did numbers, I'd give it a 6.
It's not winning any, like, might win awards because awards are fake, but it's not winning any awards in this household. But it was a fun watch anyway.
Yeah.
We got 10 minutes out of that. What's next?
Well, I did want to talk about just what we've generally been doing. I know you've been gearing up a lot for the Elden Ring DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree.
Yep. I did a whole new playthrough of Elden Ring with a simple, straightforward strength build because I want the opportunity to see what's going on in the DLC and then respec accordingly. And I'm very excited for it. I'm very excited for the new zone. The Lands of Shadow. I'm very excited for the new bosses and the new mechanics. And I hear there's a new, like, internal to the DLC level up system so that you have something to, so that you still have some scaling so you can't just, so the fact that I've got a really high level character because I did basically a whole run through sans the very end of the game so that I could maybe get the new ending if there's a new ending, which I don't know even if there is. But I have a very high-level character, and it's scaled in such a way that you won't be able to just trounce through it if you've already got to really high level, and I like that. I don't want to do that. I want to fight.
I do that. I like that, too. I played all of the Souls games, the Soulsborne games that I played, way after they were released. So I had the definitive, extended, duplicated editions, and I was thus able to do the DLC directly after I finished the game, or right before, rather, or even as I was finishing parts of the game.
You were able to do it when it's roughly recommended that you do it.
So I wasn't crazy high level, and in fact, Dark Souls 2, I had to grind to approach the DLC, which is not a good thing, but like I would rather have that experience than clown everything I come across.
Oopsie doodle, I'm way too high level for the DLC. Now I'm flattening everything with one swing of great stars. Great job me. I'm good at the video game. I like approaching my build tactic strategically in Elden Ring. I like planning my build out in such a way that it's very effective. But that's for subsequent run-throughs, when I already know everything. The first run-through, I want a fight. And I think this is going to give me a fight, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of the.
I've seen nothing. I've seen one trailer.
I've seen the pre-release. They're both trailers, the story and the mechanics, or teaser or whatever. And they let a lot of people come by and play for like half an hour, I think. I didn't watch all of that, but I did watch a sizzle reel that Vadi was given. Vadi Vidya. If you know Elden Ring, you know who that is. If you know Elden Ring and found us, you know who that is.
You'll find him way before us, brother.
But I was just checking out. My main curiosity has been the new weapons, because I did my first playthrough with the flail and magic, like sorceries. And then I haven't been able to find a weapon I like half as much since.
You did the thing I accidentally do in a lot of video games, which is play the best build that I like the most first, so I can't play it again.
Yeah, I've had a really hard time getting back into Elden Ring. I think that might just be Souls fatigue, which I think I may have worked out of my system.
Because of?
Because of another Crab's Treasure. I have been playing a lot of games in the last, I don't know when the last time we did one of these was, several months. But most of them don't really bear mentioning. They were small stuff that I kind of breezed past. Another Crab's Treasure, however, is probably the best Souls-like that I've ever played. It takes a lot of novel concepts in terms of altering the core gameplay of a Souls game and approaches them really well. You don't have a stamina bar, for example. You are only limited by your frames, your frame data. So it's a very fighting game in that aspect, perhaps even more so than your average Souls game. You can jump, and because you're underwater, you play a little crab guy. A little hermit crab. You can kind of swim for a minute, like just a little bit. You got a stamina bar there, but that's like the only thing it's used for. And so that adds platforming that doesn't suck.
Which, notably, the FromSoft games are bad at. One FromSoft game did platforming that doesn't suck, and that's Sekiro.
Elden Rings isn't bad.
No, it's just functional.
Yes, it probably shouldn't be there. But they wanted to add verticality to it, and that makes sense.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah. The horse was a smart cover-up. But the bosses are challenging in Another Crab's Treasure. It's got some really good upgrade paths, despite only having one weapon, technically two. I haven't finished it yet. I'm approaching, like, 2/3 of the way in. And I'm stuck on a boss. But it's been really good. I would definitely recommend it to anybody. It's on Game Pass. So is...
much other stuff.
Well, yeah, but there was a recent Souls-like that came out about a year ago, maybe 2 at this point. That was a remake. I can never remember the name of this game.
That's because all Souls-likes have the same 5 names.
Right. I'm going to Google it. But I played a little bit of that because it just dropped on Game Pass. And that was what made me realize I was done being mad at Souls-likes. Lords of the Fallen. I got there, I didn't have to type.
Looking at the Google window empowered him.
I have not played but like an hour or 2 of that. I'll get to it probably after the Elden Ring DLC at this point, given how long it's taken me to beat Another Crab's Treasure and watch the entirety of the original animated X-Men series. We'll get to that another day. But what is there anything else you've been up to before we move on to Trailer Palooza?
Beating myself over the head attempting to finish Baldur's Gate 3. It's not that it's hard, it's that brain is done with that candy bar and doesn't want it anymore. And I need to finish it because I have thoughts I'd like to share. But that, I'm playing incidental little games. I tried a couple little Steam games that didn't really hit. That's about it.
Right on. All right, so we went to see the Furiosa movie, and I don't tend to watch trailers as a rule. I did for a while. I saw the trailer for the first Doctor Strange movie. I predicted the entire plot from that trailer and was disappointed that the movie was boring, partially because of that, so I just try not to watch them anymore unless I'm a captive audience.
Funny thing about the beginnings of movies, you're a captive audience for trailers.
Yes. So we saw a bunch when we went to see this film. We're not going to talk about all of them, but I will say even the movies I wasn't interested in watching looked good.
I realized that I have been not annoyed, but like bleh on the trailers before movies for a long time. And this movie made me realize that's because I go to kids' movies. I like kids' movies. Nothing wrong with kids' movies or family pictures, as the saying may go. But they have different trailers than Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, and all of these movies looked much cooler.
Yeah. On the thumbnail there is Bike Riders, which is a terrible name.
A cool concept. It looks dope. Yeah. I'm gonna watch this movie.
Hell yeah, it looks great.
This looks really cool. Small problem, that's a stupid name. And secondary small problem, Tom Hardy must be stopped. He must be stopped. Someone has to stop him.
I wish he was as Gary Oldman at melting into a role, disappearing into one, as his accents are. Because he always does a dumb voice, as you are observing. But if I didn't know what he sounded like, I don't think it would bother me as much. I think I'd just take him at face value.
Yeah, you might be right. It might be that I know that's... You're doing a silly accent, not just an accent.
But it's over the top. He never does like a subtle accent.
He doesn't have any 4s on his dial. It starts at 7 and goes up from there. If no one stops him, he does the goofiest damn accent possible for every role. And this is no exception. Somebody stopped him when he played Max in Fury Road.
I think Venom also, yeah.
Well, see, there he gets to do the goofy Venom voice, and he has an outlet for it.
Sure, yeah.
But like, Bane... and like 4 other roles I'm forgetting right now, and now most recently the Bike Riders. He does he does a goofy fucking voice. And the character is this really cool, hard motherfucker, and he has just the silliest little cartoon accent. And it's gonna take me out of the movie.
But the thing is, he's not that far in terms of both ridiculousness and inflection, even though it's a different accent, from Joe Pesci.
No, that's an accent a real guy could have.
But not him, specifically.
And also not someone who's the leader of a very cool biker gang.
I don't know, man. I think Joe Pesci could be the leader of a really cool biker gang.
You know what? That's fair. That's a fair counterpoint.
Yeah, it looks really fun. Period piece. Another period piece we saw a trailer for was Maxine with 3 X's, like a slasher film. That looked really cool.
Yeah.
She's like trying to star in a movie and is being hunted by a slasher killer. The trailer for Longlegs, which I wanted to see. I heard about it on Instagram. That looks pretty compelling and scary.
Yeah, Longlegs looks like a horror movie that actually might wig me out.
Yeah, the cinematography looks great.
It's been a long time since I've had a movie actually scare me.
Yeah,
so that would be nice.
That would be cool. Not for sleeping, but, concept. And the other one I was really into was Blink Twice, which is some ladies get invited to a rich celebrity's island and shit goes pear-shaped.
Blink Twice gave me very, Jordan Peele vibes.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
I don't... It's
Zoe
not,
Kravitz is the person who's making that one.
It's very... The seedy underbelly of wealth and power dynamics horror is a genre that Jordan really planted his flag in, and now if you do that with a very specific, paranoia vibe, that's who you remind me of now.
I think that's a good person to be compared to, though.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a compliment. His work's great.
Was there any trailer that stood out to you that didn't stand out to me?
No, you mentioned all the ones that sounded cool to me, too.
Awesome. There was the trailer for the new Joker movie. I still haven't seen the first one.
I want to see Lady Gaga's interpretation of Harley Quinn so much that I might have to watch Joker.
I had considered it because I'm just really happy for her.
That's it. That's the whole reason. I'm happy for Stephanie.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her and happy for her. I want to support her work. I might have to watch Joker.
There was some concert footage back in the day. She's not that much younger than me. And she was freaking out before the show, even though by then she was international icon Lady Gaga. And it just humanized her, which is of course what it was supposed to do. But I could relate to it really well. And since then, I've been on her side.
I'm not being an asshole, right? Her real name is Stephanie?
Hey, Germanata, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. I couldn't remember the last name, and I was like, oh no, what if I was wrong? What if I was wrong on the internet and everyone heard?
Well, then they might comment, like I told them to do.
Anytime I'm wrong, feel free to roast me for it in the comments. That's engagement. Do it.
Yeah. We like it when the numbers go up. Well, I don't care, personally, but YouTube likes it when the numbers go up, and that lets me involve people in my work. So, now on to trailers with the last...
little bit of the
7
podcast.
minutes of the podcast. There's not a whole lot we have to say here. Not a lot of deep analysis. A lot of game trailers happened this weekend.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, please, go ahead, my friend.
The one analysis I want to make is the only game trailer thingy I watched was the Xbox showcase, and I watched it entirely because a streamer I like was doing it, and my friends were watching it. I normally don't care about these days. Ever since the death of E3, I don't engage with this stuff much.
So this technically is E3, just for the record.
Yeah. But it's not. You know what I mean?
Right. It's all individual showcases as opposed to being one expo event.
So, ever since then, I kind of don't engage with this, but I watched the Xbox one, and boy howdy, this is gonna sell some fucking Game Pass subscriptions.
This is one of the best Xbox lineups I have seen from one of these pressers in a long time. And I don't care about a lot of these games.
Yeah, to be clear, most of these games I don't want to play. Some I would love to play, but I'm aware my brain isn't going to let me. But it's just there's so many, and they're so high quality, and there's so many very looked forward to and iconic titles that are day one available on Game Pass that it makes, once again, Game Pass the best investment in console gaming even better.
I'm tentatively excited about the Perfect Dark remake. That looks pretty cool. They're doing a lot of spy stuff in addition to the shooty stuff. Man, I was told that there was a new trailer for Metal Gear Solid Delta. And I was like, yeah, I beat that game. I don't need to play Snake Eater again.
You're
And
wrong, though.
I still feel
You're
that
wrong,
way,
though.
but I saw that footage and it looks so good.
I would need to play Snake Eater again, and it's day one available on Game Pass, brother.
I'm pretty excited for the game that's also on our thumbnail here, South of Midnight, a trailer which saw a woman riding a giant talking catfish through the bayou and having to fight an island-sized alligator. And it was a Souls-like. Yes, thank you, give me more.
I'll have that, thank you.
There was one that we were kind of iffy about.
Oh, well, there were a couple I was iffy about, but what one are you talking about?
Well, Dragon Age.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, I believe by the time this podcast goes up Tuesday, the 11th, they're supposed to be dropping a gameplay trailer, which is kind of what I'm waiting for with bated breath, because as you incredibly eloquently put it, they have changed the visuals so far from the previous game's intentions. The graphic design philosophy has shifted. What else have they changed?
It's basically, I'm not concerned really about the gameplay being bad. These games are never, like, astonishingly good in terms of mechanics. They're usually fine. The selling point of a Dragon Age game is the story. And the story, I'm not filled with confidence about this. Because if I look at the graphics of your game, the series started, in a series that started in the mud and blood, brown and sad and grounded and grim. And it looks like Fortnite Battle Royale.
Which I like Fortnite's graphics. It's just, it's such a departure.
It's not that it's bad, it's that it's so different.
Yeah.
I don't trust what else you've done.
It's been 10 years, first of all, since Inquisition. The design team is mostly different. And this is a game being published by EA, and we're all familiar with them. There's a lot of clenched teeth over this, especially for me. And I'm one of those guys who's usually like, let them cook. Wait and see.
I'm willing to let homie remain in the kitchen.
Sure.
But, like,
that smells burnt.
my hand is on the extinguisher. Okay?
And hey, I've been wrong about this before. You know what a great example is? That's my boy Tom Hardy there. I said the right name for once. Good Lord.
It's impossible to remember.
I thought that The Dark Knight Rises looked bad. It wasn't. Bane was stupid, but if he had had a regular voice, that movie would have been good.
Yeah. It wasn't.
He really brought it down. I really had to spend some time, and the whole Robin gag was stupid. But
look, I'm not going to rehash.
Sure, yeah, we've talked about that enough. But, like, that is an example of us seeing a trailer and going, I don't know about that one. Because you and I turned and looked at each other. I remember this so clearly. And we're like, that looks like it sucks.
Uh-oh. And then, honestly, this is a similar vibe. It's me looking at a trailer and turning and looking at my friend and going, oh, this one, Chief.
I felt very hype about it finally being close when I saw the trailer. But that was hype married with nervousness because of how different things were. Varric didn't sound right to me. It's the same voice actor, but, like, it's been 10 years. Shit changes.
Well, and Varric is older also.
Sure.
He's become brunette as opposed to a sandy-haired person. His hair didn't go gray. He has dark brown hair now. I guess maybe that's dwarves.
I don't think it is, but sure, why not?
But he's older. He's got, like, the grizzled 5 o'clock shadow. He looks thin. He looks haggard. So his voice is a little raspier. It's got a little more fry in it. And he already had a lot, so...
And I'm worried that they didn't mention the Dread Wolf at all, and we have also changed the name of the game. Excuse me. I'm going through my own Varric transformation right before his eyes. To Veilguard.
It's wonderful to watch the hair change. That's neat.
Thank you, my friend. But we're just gonna let that joke die. It just makes me a little nervous. And 10 years later, I don't know how much I'm actually committed to seeing the end of that story. It's been long enough that...
Do I give a shit to go punch the egg in the head anymore? 10 years ago, I wanted to punch that egg in the head.
5 years ago. It was still egg punching time.
I was gonna punch that smug, bald motherfucker. It's been 10 years, brother. I don't know that I give a shit anymore.
So I just hope it's, whatever it is a game I can be enjoying.
I would love to be wrong. Again, as always, I need to reiterate, my favorite thing in life is to be pleasantly surprised about being wrong about something I was thinking was going to be bad. That's the best thing that can happen.